Now, before we can talk about how we know there is truth, let's take a minute and define it. I go all around, I get to speak to churches and young people and ask people to define truth. And rarely can somebody actually give me a cogent definition of what truth is. Now, philosophers use something called the correspondence theory of truth. And it might sound fancy, but as we process it, you realize it's actually common sense. The correspondence theory of truth says a statement is true if it matches up with reality. So truth is when you describe the world as it actually is. I live in San Juan Capistrano, and if I told you I drove here this morning in 22 minutes, well, the reason I did it is because I drove in my new red 2011 Lamborghini. And you walk outside and you see that car with little Spider-Man dangling down, big Spider-Man fan. My statement just might be what? Oh, come on, Frank, just humor me. I know I'll never have a Lamborghini. Just work with me here. Someday maybe you'll let me borrow one of yours. Got to be careful, he's got the microphone next. Now you walk outside and you see that, my statement would be true. Now if you walk outside and you see this, my statement would be false. Why? Because it's yellow and I said that it was red. Now if you walk outside and you actually see this car which is parked in the parking lot, I don't know why you're laughing. I bought American. I had an 8th grader laughing a couple weeks ago. He goes, aha, and I said, now you're in 8th grade. Tell me what kind of car you drive. That's what I thought. Now, truth is simply when a belief matches up with the world. That's what it means for something to be true. My son is 6 years old, and we actually like to play this game together, where I teach him little things like truth. I'll put a word up, and I'll put an object. And if the word corresponds to the object, and superheroes in his case, and mine, you have truth. You see, truth is describing the world as it actually is. Could you tell that kid to take his headphones out in my talk? I think that's kind of rude. No, I'm just kidding. Now, what'd you do when I said that? Some of you parents thought, dear God, I hope it's not my son or daughter back there. But many of you turned, you're like, man, I thought this guy was decently nice. Now he's calling somebody out in the middle of his talk. You turn to see who had their headphones on in the middle of the session. Now, since nobody actually did, my statement was what? My statement was false. If somebody actually did, my statement would be true. You see, that's how truth works. We make statements and we go see if the world is the way we have described it to be. Now, in one sense, you're probably sitting there going, I may or may not have known the term correspondence theory of truth, but this is a very common sense way of using truth. This is how everybody thinks about it, and you're right. But here's the catch. As soon as the topic shifts to morality, or as soon as the topic shifts to religion, people will change what is meant by truth. Everybody uses the correspondence theory of truth. You can't not use the correspondence theory of truth. But when the topic shifts to moral values and ethics, or the topic shifts to religion, without even realizing it, in the minds of many people in our secular culture, they will change what is meant by truth.